Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. Today was the release of HotFix 2.5.0.2, the one with the Sandbox update. The big focus of this hotfix was to balance out primary weapons and make them more effective against shotguns. There was also some changes made here and there with classes and exotics. In this video we'll take a look at the patch notes for the hotfix, including one change that has seemingly broken a large number of class and gear perks. So let's take a look. Some of the following I covered in my Sandbox update reveal breakdown video. If you want to learn more specific details on the highlights of its patch and what it's trying to accomplish, be sure to check that video out. But anyways, the patch notes start with general changes to the Crucible. Special ammo. Adjust special ammo economy in all game types. Players start Crucible matches with special ammo. Special ammo is now lost upon death. Sidearms are not affected by this change. Special ammo crates now appear every 60 seconds, initial spawn and respawn. Special ammo crates are now shared with allies within 75 meters, down from 100 meters. Special ammo timing in Mayhem is unchanged. Changes to elimination game types. Round time has been reduced to 90 seconds, down from 2 minutes. Players only start with special ammo for round 1. Special ammo timing is 30 seconds initial and 45 second respawns. Special ammo is wiped at the beginning of subsequent rounds. For the most part, I'm a fan of this. Even on this first day, there was a lot of people camping for special ammo, as many feared would happen, but I think this is simply because those people are used to having to rely on special to do well. I think in a couple weeks, people will rediscover how effective their primaries are, especially after the following buffs, so ultimately I wouldn't worry too much. Moving on to those changes to primary weapons, first we have hand cannons, significantly increased initial accuracy, reduced base range to 35 meters from 40 meters, reduced aim assist and magnetism at longer ranges, reduced minimum damage after fall off from 50% to 33%. Moving on to auto rifles, we start with an increased precision damage modifier to 1.3 times, up from 1.25, increased base damage of low rate of fire auto rifles to 2.5%, and increased in-air accuracy. Moving on to pulse rifles, everything seems to be a bit more normalized, starting with the reduced rate of fire for very high rate of fire pulse rifles by 7.7%, increased rate of fire for low rate of fire pulse rifles by 5.3%, reduced magazine size of Clever Dragon and Grasp of Malak by 6, reduced the effect of high caliber rounds for pulse rifles, and increased in-air accuracy. For scout rifles, not much change except for increased in-air accuracy. Now, from my first impressions, auto rifles seem to be in a very good place now. They aren't overpowered. I wasn't able to necessarily melt anyone with my Doctrine of Passing, but I felt like I could take people down with much more efficiency. Hand cannons also felt much better, but I didn't get too much time to give them a go. I'll be making a much more detailed video about this later this week once I can spend more time with all the primaries in the Crucible. Next are the big changes to shotguns, starting with shotguns no longer deal precision damage. The Chaperone and Universal Remote are unaffected by this change. Note the Universal Remote only deals precision damage while aiming down sights. Shotguns now have significantly less magnetism when fired from the hip. Shotguns now have significantly less in-air accuracy. Shotguns no longer have movement penalty. Shotguns deal 20% more damage to combatants. Rangefinder on shotguns now increase ADS time by 25%, reduce Universal Remote's magazine size from 3 to 5, and Universal Remote now takes longer to reload. Now, the hit to Universal Remote seems a little unnecessary. It was never really practical in PvE, but it's a shame that they keep making changes that make it less and less effective in those activities. It now seems that Universal Remote stands no chance of being usable in PvE. Again, I'm not upset or even disappointed really, but it seems like it's going against their philosophy of making gear that is effective in both PvE and PvP. Whatever progress they are making towards that goal, it feels like the changes to the Universal Remote are taking a step backward. And as you'll see a little later in this video, that's not the only step back they've taken in this update. Moving on to changes to exotics, we start with the Young Wolf's Howl, reduced Howling Flames ammo cost from 10 to 5. While this change is nice, it's still not a better choice than any of the other exotic swords. I would have almost preferred them keep it at 10 ammo, but make the attack radius twice as large. Then we have the change to Truth, reduce magazine size from 3 to 1. There's no way I can spin this into a positive change, so we'll just move on. Next up we have class changes. Starting with some general changes, we have reduced health of Guardians with armor values above 10, increased damage to Flux Grenades, Magnetic Grenade, and Shoulder Charge to ensure effectiveness across all armor values. Blink now disables your radar and HUD for a short time after activation. Next up we have some specific changes to the Hunter, starting with Throwing Knife now deals solar damage on impact. Finally, Hungering Blade immediately starts health regen, restores more health per kill, and gives a flat amount of health/shield per activation. It does not immediately start regenerating shields like it used to, and Blade Dancer's Quick Drop perk no longer readies your weapon instantly, but now grants a large increase to base weapon handling. So in essence, instead of granting you shield regeneration, it will now grant you 40 health per kill instantly, and if it happens to hit max health, then it will bleed over to instantly restoring shields with the remaining amount. I think this is a decent change, and I think it'll help prevent highly skilled Blade Dancers from being completely invincible from stacking kills. However, it seems in their change to Hungering Blade, this new method of health regeneration was also inadvertently applied to all instances of health regeneration in the entire game. So basically every perk in the game that would normally trigger shield regeneration now will behave like the new Hungering Blade. The perks affected are Transfusion for the Striker Titan, Cauterize for the Sunbreaker Titan, Lifesteal for Voidwalker Warlocks, Red Death perk, Suros Legacy perk for the Suros Regime, No Backup Plans, Ward of Dawn casting, the Ram, Apotheosis Veil, and Embrace the Void for Voidwalker Warlocks. The Sandbox team mentioned that they discovered this issue too late and didn't want to delay the hotfix any further to resolve it. Now, while this was seemingly unintentional, it doesn't seem like they have plans to necessarily fix the issue anytime soon. In a statement on the Bungie forums, Sandbox designer Josh Hamrick stated the following: "Over the last couple days as we continued to test the patch, it came to our attention that the changes we made to Hungering Blade were unintentionally shared amongst a number of additional elements. While we considered delaying the hotfix to remove the shared change, we ultimately decided to live with the patch we made and tested. We believe that HotFix 2.5.0.2 is an important step forward to maintain the health of the game, and that getting it out to you ASAP is in everyone's best interest. And besides, no one wants to show up empty-handed on Valentine's Day. Over the next couple weeks, we will be diligently watching and listening to what you have to say about these changes. While we will be unsurprised if additional tweaks need to be made, we are honestly super interested to see how these changes, intended or not, play out. We will be relying on you to give us your feedback as you grow accustomed to the feel of the game over the next couple weeks. We will also be with you in-game, playing along and making our own notes." So it seems they want to give this new version of Health Regen a test drive before deciding whether or not they want to fix it. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but at least everyone will be in an even playing field. Some people rely on this perk on a daily basis, and they'll have to change up their approach quite a bit, or at least be a little bit more careful. Anyways, I want to be positive about it, so I'll have to spend some more time with the changes before forming a full opinion. Moving on to changes to the Warlock, we have the Viper Totemic on Ophidian Aspect no longer readies your weapon instantly, but now grants a large increase to weapon handling speed. Stormcaller's Thunderstrike melee range was reduced and consistent with other Warlock subclasses. Amplitude, however, will continue to grant a small range of boost to the new base range. And finally, Landfall now reduces the total time in Storm Trance. Moving on to Titan-specific changes, the only change was that Juggernaut is now disabled after being in air for a short time and cannot be activated while in mid-air. And the final section for the patch notes is general changes all around, starting with Outbreak Prime no longer triggers the corruption spreads by shooting at the Ward of Dawn, Shinobu's Vow no longer adds an additional seeker to skip grenades. This doesn't mean that it's removing the extra charge, it means that it's going back to 4 skip grenade pieces instead of 5. Next, they removed the intrinsic perks of Kneecaps and Icarus to some talent grids. And finally, they fixed an issue where high caliber rounds were not functioning properly on hand cannons, scout rifles, machine guns, and sniper rifles. So that's everything that was changed in the 2.5.0.2 hotfix. Basically, primaries are great again, shotguns not so much, Blade Dancers should stop using their subclass, and health regen perks are just now different. Anyways, we'll see how things shake down in the weeks to come, and you can expect more developed opinions as I get a chance to process everything. What do you think of the changes to health and shield regen? Leave them in the comments below, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more Destiny content. And I will see you all next time. It's hard to say what this might mean, but it might be pointing towards some alternative game modes like a PvP mode where you don't use your own inventory, similar to old Halo games, or perhaps a survival type game mode where you start with nothing like they did in The Division. Something to allow players to simply just jump in and have fun.